Divyansh Pandey from CDAC Noida. I worked as project associate, and I will be taking today's presentation on exploitation techniques of spoofing, then MITM, and then your Trojans and password cracking, as well as your DOS. So we will be talking about the basic the basic techniques of exploitation. So let's start. So the exploitation techniques. Okay. So right now we'll start with spoofing. So everyone knows about spoofing. The main introduction of spoofing starts as an act of impersonation. A hacker will try to pretend to be a person or company known to and trusted by their recipient. Spoofing is used to gain access to the sensitive data or use computational resources to carry out your cybersecurity attacks. As per Merriam-Webster's dictionary, okay, I'll be a little bit slow. As per Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it is defined as spoofing as the act of making good-natured fun of a particular subject, but there is nothing fun about online spoofing. So the spoofing methods are like depicting as though you are from a particular original company and you try to basically take out the credentials from a particular victim. So as per in this diagram, as you can see, a particular hacker tries to impersonate that he is from some other country, as hacker residing on an ISP that bans IP spoofing, and hacker logs on to runs his script from a VPS hosted by a public cloud server. So he spoofs himself through another country and tries to basically target that particular machine. So as you can see, the hacker tries to log in from another country by using a VPN service or a VPS hosted in a public cloud sector, and then he tries to basically randomly attack a particular organization. So in this attack, the particular person would be depicted like he would be stationed in some other country, not from that particular area. So as you can see, the hacker tries to spoof and tries to basically target the particular target machine. Let's move on. So spoofing is basically as an attacker A, he tries to impersonate user U, and victim V will get the data package from a particular user U, but it will be from the attacker, and he will try to impersonate user U as he wants to steal the credential from victim V. So the IP spoofing is also one of the part of the spoofing techniques. So let's move on. So there are different types of spoofing methods. One is your email spoofing, DNS spoofing, IP spoofing, the distributed denial service spoofing, address resolution protocol spoofing, caller ID spoofing, website spoofing, and your GPS spoofing. So as you can see, there are different types of spoofing methods, and we'll just go like in a basic method. We'll try to understand each and every methods. So first is the normal email spoofing. As stated, normal because everyone receives these types of malicious or emails regarding that you have won something and all. They are all done by your email spoofing type of attacks. So email spoofing is when an attacker sends in emails with false sender address, which is typically part of a phishing scam. So a lot of us get these types of mail. In addition to a false sender address, keep an eye out for the red flags in these emails. There could be a typos, missing logos, addressing you as customer instead of your real name, or a blackmail attempt. So the phishing mails kind of like the sender would be some hacker, but he will try to impersonate that of that particular company's employee, and he will send the particular mail to basically get the credentials out of your systems, or basically try to hack into your networks. So there are two types of examples. See, as in this, a common method of attack is phishing, sending emails that attempt to trick a user into sharing their login credentials. Phishing emails will often warn a user that somebody has tried to access their account and suggest they change their password immediately. So basically, it's in a way that you might have to click on it, and it will basically ask you to change your password, and it will be similar to your original emails. Let's move on to the next one, that is DNS spoofing. So we know about the DNS systems like the domain name systems, which basically contain your website addresses and will redirect you to the particular websites. When we type CDAC, we'll be redirected to CDAC. When we'll type Google, we'll be redirected to Google. So even in this spoofing method, each computer and each website on the internet assigned with their unique IP address. So for every address we type, we are able to get to that address immediately and easily. For websites, this address is different from the standard www internet address that you use to access them. When you type in a web address into your web browser, hit enter and the DNS system will quickly find that particular IP address that matches the domain name you entered and redirects you to it. So basically DNS does this only. It's basically an address book which basically points you and helps you to basically go to that particular website. So hackers have also found some ways to corrupt this system and redirect your traffic to a malicious website. This is basically known as DNS spoofing. So let's try to check one of the diagrams. So in this, as you can see, the client, or I should say the attacker, injects a fake DNS entry. So he will basically try to attack the particular DNS system. If he has gotten the IP from the subdomain scanners and all, he will inject a fake DNS entry. And when a particular client that is on the two issues request to a real website, so he will type maybe cdac.in and suddenly he will be gone to the particular fake DNS entry that has been done by the attacker. So request resolves to fake website, and he might not be able to, the client will not be able to transfer to the real website, but he will instead be transferred to the particular fake website, and the attacker will be successful in his own attack of stealing the credential from the particular user. So there's also IP spoofing. Many of us heard about the IP spoofing type of techniques that is used in today's area, where you basically fake that you are right now. If you are in Delhi, you might fake that you have gone somewhere else like Dehradun or Uttarakhand or any of the states by IP spoofing techniques also. So attacker may use IP internet spoofing to disguise a computer address, thereby hiding the identity of the sender or impersonating another computer system. You might be able to spoof your IP so that it looks like that it's in the particular network already, but it will be of the attacker. One purpose of the IP address spoofing is to gain access to a network that authenticate users based on the IP addresses. That is basically defined on port 103, where basically the IP address is used as an identification. So let's move to the diagram. So IP spoofing is similar to your the basic spoofing type of attack, where the particular attacker will basically try a VPN or will try a basic service of VPS, and the particular server that he will try to connect will be in some other country. So right now this server, the attacker may be from the Asian area, and he might try to connect a VPN to the server that will be available on the Africa, and he will try to basically try to attack the particular user from that particular VPN server. So by this VPN, he might be able to access any of the websites available on the particular world map, and he will basically be detected, or if someone detects him, he will basically be located in the Africa area, and he might be able to do his attack constantly because no one will be able to find him. Let's move to the next. There is the DDoS spoofing. DDoS spoofing is currently the advanced type of spoofing type, or I would say the DOS attacks that currently occur in the day-to-day areas, where basically the hacker tries to do a DDoS spoofing attack, where his actual address won't be able to be detected, and this happens by DDoS spoofing is a subtype of IP spoofing. It is similar to IP spoofing that is used by these hackers, and they carry out the particular distributed denial of service attack against computers and networks and websites. So in this, even if they are getting detected, they might not be, because this bot type of network that they have already infected the systems, they would be able to attack a particular system or a server to basically stop that server from working, and they will take away all of the resources. In this, the bots are basically scattered all around the world, and a similar type of spoofing is done so that everyone's address, like the hacker's main actual address, won't be able to be detected. The attackers use various techniques to scan the internet for computers with known vulnerabilities and use these flaws to install malicious software. So after that, they become the bots, and the bots are used by the particular hacker. He will send one command and he will direct all of the bots or all of the infected system to attack a particular server, and this will basically make that particular server take up a lot of resource and won't be able to be accessed by the public computers. Let's move to the one. So this allows them to create botnets, armies of robot computers, all remotely controlled by the hacker. So let's see a particular diagram. So as you can see, the cyber criminal has already compromised the compromised networks, unprotected servers, and bots. Botnet can be anything: your phones, your mobiles, your iPhones, your laptops, your iPads, your laptops, your desktops. If they have a vulnerability, they are not patched. They're basically being compromised. They act as a botnet. Also, there would be servers that are not protected. There would be some networks, and they basically try to attack the victim server. What happens? The particular users that are on the green side won't be able to access that particular website, and they might think maybe the server is down, but actually the server has been attacked by a malicious hacker. Let's move to the next. This is address resolution protocol. So ARP is basically used by many of your switch. So every internet connected devices has its own media access control, MAC. So every MAC is allotted a particular IP in their particular network. So that is linked to the device unique IP address via the address resolution protocol, that is your ARP. But what about if they could also be spoofed? So cyber criminals can hack into their target's local area network and send false ARP data. That means they basically try to inject a lot of IP addresses, random IP addresses. So that opens a particular switch into fail open mode. And because of that, they also try to spoof their IP so that they are able to basically get the data of some other user in that particular network. It's a basic and advanced type of attack also. As a result, the hacker's MAC address will become linked to the target IP address. So he will basically depict that he is the particular main user system, victim system, and he will get all of the data of that victim, thus giving them the insight into their target's incoming traffic. So this is like this. User is Alice, or hi, I need MAC address of 10.0.01, and she basically asks for that particular address, and that address is there, but instead of this address, it's already injected with a fake ARP response. So the attacker already has depicted that he is the 10.0.01 IP, and he will basically try to connect with the particular victim. So this is just a general representation that how this particular ARP attack works. Then there is caller ID spoofing. So caller ID spoofing is similarly your scam calls that you get. So attackers can make it appear as if their phone calls are coming from a specific known number, either one that is known, like your banks and all, or trusted to the recipient, or one that indicates a specific geographical location. Many of the caller ID spoofing apps are available on the internet that are harmful, and they basically spoof it so that they are shown like they are coming from another country. And this is also one of the spoofing types of attack that occur. So he might be telling you that it's a serial number, but it's a spoof number, and they are basically from a hacker. Let's move to the next, that is website spoofing. So website spoofing is also one of the like your general types of attack that happen in your social engineering, where the particular website has been scanned or been taken by the hacker and being copied by him so that he could basically target all of the employees for the credentials. A con artist may try to dupe or target organization's employees into visiting a carbon copy of a website that they routinely use for their work. So they basically try to copy that and basically try to have a similar domain, like a homoglyph type of attack, and they try to dupe those organization employees for their credentials. Unfortunately, black hats are becoming increasingly adept at mimicking the layout, branding, and sign-in forms of a legitimate web pages. So they do so that also. Let's see the particular example. So they might do by making a similar website, but the problem would be their URL, but also the URL can be changed through homoglyph type of attack. Does not belong here. So .lib1.ir is basically a fake link or domain that they have byte. The URL does not begin with HTTPS. So there are multiple ways of finding out the phishing type of links, but there are also methods that basically make it a much more advanced type of attack, also like homoglyph and all. Let's move to the next, that is GPS spoofing. So as I told you, there are methods to basically spoof your locations. So users increasingly relying on geolocation servers to reach a destination or avoid traffic jams. That is generally because of your Google Maps and all. Cyber criminals may try to manipulate a target's device GPS receiver into signaling inaccurate whereabouts. So there are methods where you basically try to spoof your positions so that no one can basically know where you live and all. So what happens, like nowadays, even the GPS can be attacked, and they will basically redirect you to some other location, which will basically make you like if you don't know the location and addresses, it might be a troublesome attack on you. So how to fend off such spoofing attacks? So there are different ways. You should think of rebuilding your organization chart of how these type of spoofing attacks could be detected, or make a particular scenario or test for it. Benefit from penetration testing and red teaming. So there are many organizations, third-party organizations like Postfigure and all, which help to supply you with penetration testing and red teaming too. So they have methods to basically try and detect such attacks, and will tell you wherever you need to make adjustments in your particular websites or your servers. That get visibility across all platforms, meaning centralizing everything, every log and monitoring system, so that you are able to detect the attack when it just had occurred, and you might be able to fend it off. Say no to trust relationships, basically not allowing any of the third parties to have any authentication, and they might be able to log into your particular system without any authorization and all. That's a no trust to your trust relationships. Let's move to the next. Even there's leverage packet filtering. Packet filtering should be done in each and every network area that you have been provided, and also use anti-spoofing software that is also with the geotagging processes. Let's extra precautions for personnel. Examine emails for typos and grammar errors. Look for a padlock icon. Refrain from clicking links in emails and social media. That is basically an employee-based type of precautions that need to be taken. Basically, the training should be done for each and every employees. Confirm suspicious requests in person and make file extensions visible. Confirm suspicious requests in person is meaning that if you have received mail from your particular TL or any of the person in your particular organization, you should contact him and ask him if they had sent the particular email or not. Let's move to the man in the middle type of attack, your MITM. Which is also common in a network-based type of attack, where HTTP protocol has been used rather than the HTTPS. So a man-in-the-middle attack is when an attacker intercepts communications between two parties, either to secretly eavesdrop or modify traffic traveling between the two. So that means he might be able to get in between the two without even being noticed, and he might be able to get all the data or whatever they are saying that is important to a particular organization. So for that, attacker might use a man-in-the-middle attack to steal login credential or personal information, spy on the victim, or sabotage communications or corrupt data. So as you can see in the diagram, the normal connection between a client and server is one-on-one. But if it is a man-in-the-middle connection, the particular client would be able to connect to the server, but he would be redirected through the particular hacker. So hacker might be in the middle, and he would be able to detect each and every moves that a client is making with the particular server because he is using the promiscuous mode of his NIC adapters. Then other man-in-the-middle attack example is this. Alice is basically communicating with Bob, and Alice to Bob send over your key. Chris is basically the attacker, the perpetrator. Alice's message and forwards it to Bob. So he is able to read Alice's messages. So Chris to Bob send over your key. So they are basically exchanging their keys. So Chris sends his key. So what happens, like, here's my key. Bob sends a key to particular Alice, and Chris basically takes that key. So hacker takes that key and sends his key to Alice. And what happens, like, now Chris is able to log into both of their accounts. So Alice sends her account to Bob. So now Bob is able to practically get the account number that Alice is sending. And because it's a man in the middle, actually the hacker is able to get Alice's account. And Alice's account has been replaced with Bob's account number, which is basically your hacker's account number, and hacker has sent that to him. So Bob sends some money to the wrong account. So hacker is able to detect that particular account number sent by Alice, and he basically just interprets the particular or changes or basically modifies the account number to his, and Bob basically sends a particular amount of money to the hacker. Sniffing of data, MITM. So there's an example, a tool that is MITMF.py, man in the middle framework, that can also be used in a particular network that has no HTTPS protocol. And you might be able to sniff, done in one of the practicals. I was able to sniff some of the data which they were using. So let's see how to defend such man in the middle attack. Unexpected or repeated disconnections, that is one of the points. Attackers forcefully disconnect users so they can intercept the username password when the user tries to reconnect. This basically happens in a public Wi-Fi network all the time, that you have to be aware of. Next is strange addresses in your browser address bar. This could be the particular phishing type of attack that could occur with it. For example, you see HTTPS Google with a small and a capital O .com instead of the main google.com. This could be a phishing attack also that could be done when the particular repeated disconnections occur. Other is you log into a public or unsecured Wi-Fi. So if you are in a public Wi-Fi, please try to be secure. Only use a VPN when you are using a public Wi-Fi. So let's move how to prevent man in the middle again. Add a VPN or encrypt traffic between endpoints. That is one of the basic or one of the most important parts to prevent such attacks. Use end-to-end encryption for emails, chat, and video communications. Everything should be secured. Either you can use the VPN alongside with it, or there could be a feature that will encrypt all of the messages between your endpoints. There's only connect to HTTPS connections. Use a browser plugin to enforce this rule. This rule can be enforced by using the HTTPS Everywhere extension that is also available on the Chrome extension sheet. Other point is employ DNS over HTTPS. That is a newest protocol that has been available with the Chrome also, which is a new technology that protects you from DNS hijacking by encrypting your DNS request. So encryption is required in each and every request that you make, and it should be particularly be on the both sides, even the client as well as on the server. Monitor activity on the network to detect evidence of a compromise or a MITM technique in use. That can be done with the internet, like your IP monitoring. And because if someone is using a man-in-the-middle attack, they basically try with the ARP spoofing. And because of that, you might be able to detect it, because Wireshark is able to detect it, and many of the IP monitoring tools are able to detect such type of man-in-the-middle attack. There's one more, password cracking. That is basically your most common type of attack if you're learning ethical hacking also. So password cracking is the process of attempting to gain unauthorized access to the restricted systems using common passwords or algorithms that guess passwords. So in other words, it's an art of obtaining the correct password that gives access to a system protected by an authentication method. So basically there would be a login form, and one can basically try to brute force every username and password they have. Also, password cracking has different types of method also, but first is the password strength. So here you can see a table which consists of the password length, which contains your numerical, whichever 0 to 9 numerical value you use, upper and lower cases, A to Z, numerical upper and lower cases. So they are like combination of password that you use. So password length 1 will be completely broken easily through the brute force attack. 2 easily till your 6. So password length which has like 1 to 6 or 6 value of a string might be easily be broken up. But when you go to a little bit of 7, 8, 9 till 20, if you try to use a combination between your numerical upper and lower case and special characters like 0 to 9, A to Z, and percentile or dollar, these types of password strength increases, and one might not be able to crack such particular by brute forcing, or password cracking cannot be done. It will take about 2 years, 30 years, 50k years, and so on, to basically for them to crack such login from. And so there are ways that these can also be broken, but at the end of the day, it's like a general notice that we should use a more like strengthened password so that we can at least protect our particular profiles. Let's move on to password cracking techniques. There are multiple techniques in password attacks. One is your dictionary attack, which consists of all of the information that you have gathered against a particular profile. Then is brute force attack. Normally it contains your web proxy type of attack where you try to brute force every username and password that you have found out in for that particular organization. Then there is rainbow attack, table attack, that contains the hashes of our previous passwords that you can use to basically try to use the hash table to basically brute force the particular profile. Then there is guessing, that is not being used in today's type of attack because guessing will only increase the time of that particular attack. Then there is spidering. So spidering is one of the most common used type of scanning, which will try to take out the information of username password from a particular organization. It's a type of scanning for the password cracking technique. Let's move to dictionary. As I told you, dictionary involves a use of a word list that would compare against the user password. For that, you have to get the user data for that particular person. If you get the user data, you might be able to get the name and surname, and then you will try to combine this particular information and try to create their password. For that, username, surname, and everything related to him would have to be acquired, and then a particular application would be run, like your many applications are there. Then you basically try to guess that particular password. Let's move to the brute force attack. For that, as I told you, it would need a particular proxy. So for proxy, then you have to have a bigger word list that is basically being available on the internet. You use the particular word list, then you try to basically attack a particular login page by brute force. Any of the sites, it could be a WordPress site using a CMS, kind of CMS, content management system, and any of the things, then you basically try to attack their particular login pages. Then is rainbow table attack. As I told you, rainbow table consists of all of the stored password as MD5 hashes. MD5 hashes has to be used against such attacks where you basically brute force them by using the particular hashes rather than the normal or unencrypted or decoded passwords. In this, we basically compare the password hash we have against the particular stored hashes in the database. So they basically try to not type the particular actual password, but they will try to type the particular hash that particular password had, and they will compare it with the current table that they have with the database table, and if there's a match, then you have found the password. Because nowadays all the passwords are stored in encrypted format or a hash format. That for that you need a basically rainbow table to basically attack that particular website. So it consists like this. This is a rainbow table. Is a type of hacking wherein the perpetrator tries to use a rainbow hash table to crack the password stored in a database system. So you are basically trying to attack the database with a MD5 checksum hash that you have created. A rainbow table is a hash function used in cryptography for storing important data such as passwords in a database. So rainbow table is the current technique of a password cracking, so that they use the hash. The hash could be of anything, your MD5, your RESIT, RES, AES, and all, and they basically try to attack with those hashes that they have been created. Guessing. So guessing is one of the normal types of attack where you basically try to guess the password. Like we already know that the default password could be an admin, could be admin12345 or any of the things. As the name suggests, this method involves guessing, and passwords such as QWERTY, password, admin, etc. are commonly used or set as default passwords. So guessing can also be used in a security misconfiguration attack, because in the security misconfiguration, basically those attack occurs if they have been configured defaultly or if their password have been the default passwords. So what happens, like if you have installed a Cisco router, the password would be similarly admin, and if a person, even if an amateur hacker is there, he would just take out all of the default passwords of the particular router systems, and he will try to attack with those random passwords or those default passwords, and if he's lucky, he might be able to get inside that particular router or the system. So this is how guessing works. So if they have not changed, or if the user is careless when selecting passwords, then they can be easily compromised. Simple, particular attacker uses different types of default passwords, and if what works, he will be authorized as a login user or an admin. Let's go to spidering. So as I told you, spidering is a type of scanner. So most organizations use passwords that contain company information. This information can be found on company websites, social media such as Facebook or Twitter. So this is how spidering could be worked. There are tools like the Spiderfoot HX and etc. Other tools are also there that you can use to basically scan an organization name, and whatever information is there on the internet, one might be able to gather it and create a table or create a format so that you might be able to get the password. You don't have to guess it. The spidering scan would be able to do it. They are basically the OSINT type of scanners that you use. Guessing explained to. Okay. So they are spidering will basically try to scan all the websites or the particular domain and will try to get out all of the username and password. And you might be able to basically get the username and password, and then the cracking or the password cracking method would work with it. So spidering gathers information from these sources to come up with word list. So it will create a particular word list because it's an OSINT scanner, and the word list is then used to perform dictionary and brute force attacks. So basically, it will just give the particular hacker an advantage over other types of attacks. So what will happen, like spidering will generate the particular username password list. So the hacker will just have to wait. The OSINT will do it for him, the open source intelligence scanners, and then he will use those generated username and password, and he will try to basically attack a particular login form. So how to make the countermeasures for such type of password cracking? There's one, like avoid short and easily predictable passwords. And as you know that I've already shown you the password strength. So it should consist of the numerical, small and uppercase alphabets, your special characters, and just create a word length of about 10 or above, so that you can at least have a strong password when you create for these particular login profiles. And then there's avoid using password with predictable patterns such as 115522 and 66. So they are like generally can be detected, and they are basically the predictable patterns that one could make. Don't try to create such passwords. And then there is password stored in table must always be encrypted. For MD5 encryptions, it is better to solve the passwords hashes before storing them. So you have to also solve them. That is meaning the RES and AES could be used to basically solve such password hashes. Basically, they should not be the only hashes. They should be again be hashed so that they basically have different types of value to the previous ones before storing them. Then salting involves adding some word to the provided password before creating the hash, or you can basically again hash it so that they are not easily detectable. Then there's most organization systems have password strength indicators. Organizations must adopt password policies that favor high password strength numbers. So the password has to be strong. Also, the password has to be encrypted with a salt, or you should say another words and keywords, so that they are not easily predictable. Then there are Trojans. So Trojans are basically your malware, and they are used, their functions could depend upon the hacker who have created them. Trojans are deceptive programs that appear to perform one function, but in fact perform another. Malicious functions, they might be disguised as free software, videos or music, or seemingly legitimate advertisements. So Trojans are basically a malware, as you can say, but Trojans, as you heard, like they will be deceptive, meaning they would be like a program that you have just downloaded if you have to do SSH connection to your particular server. And these Trojans, what happens, like they would be binded with that particular applications. You might think that you are able to connect to your server, but instead, as well as the connection, you would also be running a particular virus that will be giving the particular handle, or that would be giving the control of your machine to a particular hacker, and it will also can act as a botnet to that particular hacker. So, but in fact, perform another functions, and they might be disguised as a free software, as I told you, and videos or music or seemingly legitimate advertisements. So, a virus is a program that spreads by attaching itself to other software, and while a Trojan spreads by pretending to be useful software or content. So basically, what happens, like virus spreads by attaching itself, and Trojan is basically it pretends to be a useful software. This is one of the basic like difference between a virus and a Trojan. So they are all different. Worms are also different, as well as your ransomware and etc. Okay, so let me try to just be fast enough. So Trojan infection methods are simple. You will get a mail. You will basically click on it, and the particular malware will be downloaded at the backend, and your system would be infected. There are many sites, like there are malicious sites also that basically try to do downloaded actions on you, and the particular system could get affected. And other types of attackers install a Trojan by exploiting a software vulnerability. So many of the Trojan effect are similar to the other previous slides that I have mentioned. There are types of Trojans which could contain your downloaded Trojans, your backdoor Trojans, your spywares, your rootkit Trojans. So there are multiple type of Trojans that is created upon the wish of a particular hacker. These Trojans are similar, but it will depend upon the particular hacker's demands. So how to detect Trojans in your organizations? There should be an endpoint protection platform. There should be a constant web application firewall that should be running. Threat hunting should be there. Threat hunting is basically a scanner that is already deployed in an organization, and it is like an IPS IDS. They basically try to detect whatever malicious content they are able to find. And triaging user complaints, meaning if a user has complained of certain slowness in his computer systems, you or information security should go and try to see what type of error has occurred. Then we move to denial of service. So denial of service is already have been talked by us. It's like when a malicious actor aims to render a computer or other device unavailable to its intended users by interrupting the device's normal functioning. So we already heard about the DDoS. It's the similar effect. The particular hacker tries to take all of the services of that particular server, and a DOS attack is characterized by using a single computer to launch the attack. So a DOS and a DDoS are different, because in a DOS, it will be a single computer attacking a server. In a DDoS, there would be a multiple servers attack, multiple systems or botnets attacking a server. How does a DOS works? Primary focus of a DOS is to oversaturate the capacity of a targeted system, resulting in denial of service to additional requests. Let's just move on. Those attacks are typically fall in two categories. One is your buffer overflow attacks, and other is your flood attacks. So there are two types. One is your buffer overflow, where your resources will be taken up by the particular hacker. Other will be flood attacks, where you basically try to do a sync scan, and you basically don't attach to that particular scan, and they basically try to use up a lot of resources of that system. Let me just go to the particular page. So this is a denial of service attack, where a particular hacker is able to target a server, and we want to see. So this is the denial of service and the distributed denial of service. So in one denial of service, one machine is able to attack the victim machine, and the DDoS, multiple machines are trying to attack your victim machine to basically hamper or like take up all of the resources, so no one is able to actually open that particular website on that particular web server. So thank you. I think I've run out of time, so I have to do it fastly. So I think Narisa. So I think I've taken a lot of time. Okay. So I think there are also no questions. in the chat also. I think there's no questions then. So these were all of the particular types of DDoS and Trojans and password cracking that I've talked about, also with the particular spoofing. And these type of things are basically occur in the day-to-day life because the hackers are trying to get the username password, and you can basically see to it, and also you can try to prevent such type of attack. Is Naresh sir there?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
you are done with the session.
Yes, sir.